Hello everyone, welcome to Joyroute. In this video, we learn about Azure Backup. So before moving to the video, let me request you all, please subscribe if you are watching this channel for the first time. And if you have any suggestions or questions, please mark it in the comment section. Alright, so let's get into the video. In a production environment, if you intend to use a virtual machine in a production purpose or some important purpose, it is obviously a bad idea to not to have a regular backup. There are a couple of ways to set up the backup. First one, while creating the VM, you can enable the backup. So let us see that first. So here I'm trying to create a virtual machine. I have provided all the basic details and move to the disk details is provide networking management. So under management menu, if you come down here, you have an option to backup, enable backup. To guard your virtual machine against accident, deletion and corruption, we recommend that you configure backup on this virtual machine. So here you can enable the backup. If you tick mark, you get all these details, like it itself create a recovery service vault, and we have standard and enhanced options. You could see standard option is disabled here. It is because as we have selected security type as trusted launch virtual machine, we could not select the standard one. We could not select the policy subtype as standard. We have to go with enhanced. So this is the first way where we can enable the backup. So the second method is post creation of an VM. We have already created a VM now. Post creating of the VM, in the left hand blade, if you come down, we have an option here like backup and disaster recovery. Let me click on this backup. Here also you can enable the backup. We have to create a recovery service vault. Recovery service vault holds a backup copies and you can monitor backup using vault. Backup vault is a special type of storage account that contains virtual hard disk. So we can either create a new backup vault or you can use the existing one. We do have an existing backup vault. So I'm going to create a new one here, and you can give any name or you can go with the suggested name by Azure. It suggests the resource group. If you want to change the resource group, you can change it. And policy type, we have to here enhanced and standard. Again, standard is disabled here because as this particular machine belongs to trusted launch Azure VM, we can use only enhanced policy type. And full backup every 4 hours starting at 8 a.m. Instant restore, retain instant recovery snapshot for 7 days. Retain backup taken every day for 30 days. These are the default setup. If you want to make any changes, you can do that. You can edit this policy and you can make the changes here. So this is the second method of creating the backup. Now let's learn about the third method of taking the backup. Instead of taking the backup for one particular machine, let's learn how we can take the backup for multiple machines or for the entire organization or for the entire region. So to do that, we should create a recovery service vault. So if you go home and you can search it, or in my case, it's already available here in the Azure services. So I'm selecting the recovery service vault from here. And you could see I have created two service recovery service vault. So let me create a new one. I'm clicking on create button. It is asking me for the subscription and resource group. I'm adding it to the existing resource group, and we have to give a vault name here. Vault name I provide it as AC Backup Lab 1 or okay 1. Region region should be the same of your virtual machines region. So I keep it as West Europe. Redundancy, by default it will be geo redundant. You can keep it either zone redundant or locally redundant. In a production environment, it is good to keep geo redundant as it is a lab environment. To save the cost, I keep it as locally redundant. Next, encryption and vault properties. You can, if you want to enable the immutability, you can enable it. Then goes to the networking. Allow public access from all network. In a production environment, this is not a recommended option. It is always deny public access and allow private access. And you have to provide the proper virtual network here, VNet here. But as it is a lab environment, I don't want to I don't want to attach any private VNet. I'm providing public access from all network. But I want here, please don't use allow public access from all the networks in a production environment. Then comes to tags and review and create it. All right. So it may take few minutes to complete this action. So let's wait for that. All right, our recovery service vault has been created. Now let's click on go to resources. So this is the particular recovery service vault, and we have an overview here. If you come down here, you have an option to backup. You can mention where is your workload running, either in Azure, or you have an option to run it in Azure Stack Hub, Stack HCE, and on-premise. So on-premise, we will learn it in the another video. This is only for workloading and running in Azure. And what do you want to take backup, either the virtual machines or the Azure file share or the SQL server in Azure VM or SAP HANA in Azure VM. So you can select accordingly. So here we are going to backup our virtual machine. Before doing this, let's create a backup policy. So under manage tab, we have backup policy. Let me click on that. And here you could see the policies that has been created by default and created by me. Let me create a new policy, backup policy. Let me click on add. So you can create a policy according to your requirement, according to your organization requirements. Let me click on Azure Virtual Machine policy type. Here we have two options like enhanced and standard. It is always good to go with enhanced option. And you have to provide a name for the policy name. I give the name as Azure Backup Lab 1. All right. So how you want to schedule your backup, hourly or on the daily basis or on the weekly basis? I do it for the daily basis. At what time you want to schedule it? I provide it at 2030. And here you can set the time zone. You can set your time zone according to your region. I keep it as default. And here you have that by default instant restore. Retain instant recovery snapshot for 7 days, or you can, the value is between 1 to 30, you can provide it here. All right. So, and retention policy, backup point for a by default it is 180 days. You can change it accordingly. And here you have an option to retention of weekly backup point. You can mention it here. And retention for the monthly backup point is here, and retention for the yearly backup point also you could see here. You can mention it according to your organization requirements, so you can plan it before creating this policy. All right, so I have given only the basic details and I'm going to create a policy. So instead of daily, let me keep hourly backup. And every 4 hours, every 6 hours, every 8 hours. So I keep this as 8 hours. Again, what I say here, you will have to check with your team. When it comes to a production environment, you'll have to sit with a pen and paper, collect all the details from the consent team, and you have to plan it and create the policy. As it is a lab environment, I give it without giving much importance. Alright, let me create one. So it is initialized and deployment is in progress. Okay, deployment succeeded. So now we go to the resources. So if you go to the backup policies, you could see the policy that we have created just now, which is Azure Backup Lab 1, and the policy subtype is enhanced and policy for the Azure virtual machine. Alright, and here under backup, if you go to the backup items, now there is no backup as of now. Now we are going to enable the backup. So under getting started, we have something called backup. Let me click on that. Configure the backup. Let me click on backup. So I'm configuring the backup for enhanced, and it has taken the backup policy which is just created now. So this is the one which we created. So I have selected that. So whatever we have mentioned in this particular policy is taken here every 8 hours starting 8:30 p.m. and all the details we have provided for this policy is highlighted here. Now we have to add the virtual machine. So let me click on add, and I do have 3 virtual machines. I'm going to take backup of this third one, Intune on-prem. Alright, click OK. So it is validation is in progress and enable backup. So initializing the deployment. It may take some time. Let's wait. Alright, the deployment is complete. Now go to resources. Now if you go to the backup items, you could see one Azure virtual machine is under backup. Let me click on Azure virtual machine, and it provides the details here, like backup recheck is paused, and last backup status is warning in an initial backup is pending. Here, if you want to initiate the backup now, you can click on backup now. So what it does, it will initiate a backup now. So I'm going to initiate a backup now instead of waiting till 10:30 p.m. Retain the backup till 7 so 1 month. That's what it shows. So click me OK. Triggering the backup for Intune on-prem. So the backup is initiating. Now if you check under backup jobs, you could see the backup is in progress. So it may take some time to get completed. Let's check how to restore a VM from the backup. Alright. So if your VM has got a virus or some other serious problem, then we can restore the VM from the backup. There are two options. Either to create a copy of the VM from the backup, that will be a copy of your existing VM, or you can replace the existing VM itself. So these two options are there to restore a VM from the backup. So in our last video, we had created a recovery service vault, and we have configured the backup. We created the policy for the backup, and we have configured the backup. If you check it in the backup items, we could see one Azure virtual machine is backing up. So we are clicking on that particular machine, and you could see the backup recheck passed and last backup status is success on today at this time. So latest restoration point we have today at 8:37 a.m. So this is our last restoration point. We can restore this particular VM from this particular restoration point. So let us see how to do that. To do that, let me click on this view details, and here we have an option to restore a VM. So let me do that. Now we have to select the restoration point. As the machine was shut down, we have some crash consistent points here. We go with the 16.6.950 at this particular backup point, and let me click OK. All right. So as I told you, we have a two restore configuration, like create new or replace existing. I'm going with create a new restore configuration. Restore type, create a new virtual machine, and virtual machine name I give it as restore VM in tune on prem. That's very long. We'll just mention it as restore VM. Subscription, that's fine. Resource group, select the same resource group. If you want, you can create another resource group like restoration is RG, and you can move that particular VM to that resource group. So in my case, I just keep it in the same resource group. Virtual network, I added the same one. In a production environment, if it is affected by the virus, there is a chance it affected to 2 or 3 machines through virtual networks. So considering all that situation, plan it accordingly, create a new virtual network, subnet, create a separate resource group, restore the VM from the to a different virtual network, different resource group, different subnet. So that we'll have to plan it. In our case, I just want to show you how to restore a VM from the backup. Staging location, you can select the existing one and restore it. So it is validating. Let's wait. It may take some time to restore the VM from the backup. Meanwhile, we'll just go back to backup jobs and see what's happening out there. See, restoration has got completed successfully. It doesn't take much time. It just took 2 minutes 9 seconds to restore a VM from the backup. So if you click on the view details, we have all the details of that particular VM. So let's check in the resource group. We had added to the Joyroute. So we could see the new VM here. See, so this is the new VM, restore VM from, this is the name we had given to that particular VM that restored from the backup. All right. So if you go to the virtual machines, also you could see that new virtual machine here. Yeah, this is the new virtual machine that has just created. So this way we can restore a VM from the backup restoration point. Previous video we learned about how to take the Azure backup and how to restore a full VM from the Azure backup. We have learned all this in our previous video. In this particular video we learn about how to restore a particular file from the Azure VM backup. For example, if any file got deleted accidentally or a file got corrupted, in such scenario we want to restore that particular file from the Azure VM backup. We can do that through file recovery on from the Azure VM backup. For our better understanding, let us create a situation and practically do that. For example, I'm going to create a folder in the C drive here. I'm going to create a folder in the name of restore a folder. So we will be deleting this folder and we restore it post taking the backup. So in this folder, I will copy these two files. Alright. Now what we will do, we will initiate a backup from the Azure portal, and post successful completion of this backup, we will delete this folder and we'll try to restore this folder from the backup. So let's do that first. For that, we go back to the Azure portal. We are in the Azure portal and we go to the recovery service vault, and this is the recovery service vault which we have created. Let me click on that. Let us go to the backup items and click on Azure virtual machine, and here if you click on view details, we have an option to backup now. What we will do, we will initiate a backup now while clicking this backup now here. Retain backup till 1 month. Let's do that. Click on OK. So a backup has been initiated now. It may take some time. Check the progress. Let us go back to the recovery service vault and come down and check for the backup jobs. Here we could see it may take some time to get initiated. Let's wait for that. Yeah. Now we could see that the initiated backup is in progress. I will pause the video for the time being and we'll come back once this backup is over. Yes, the backup has got completed just now. It took a long time to complete this backup. It took almost 28 minutes to complete the backup. Alright, so what we will do, we will just go back to our virtual machine, and this is our particular folder, restore a folder. So this is that folder which we are going to delete it. So what I do, I am going to shift delete it. Are you sure you want to permanently delete this folder? Yes. Now what we'll do, we will try to restore this particular folder from the latest restoration point, which means the latest one which you have done just now. Alright, to do that, we have to go back to our backup items, click on our Azure Backup, and here we have an option here to file recovery. So let me click on the file recovery and let me select the restoration point. So the restoration point we select that is the latest one, which is just now was completed. So we will select this, click OK. Now what the next step is to download script to browse and recover files. This script will mount the disk from the selected recovery points as a local drive on the virtual machine when it runs. So I'm going to download the executable file. Your download will start within a minute. You will require this password to run the script. Alright, let it download it. Your script file is ready to download. Let me click on download. Alright, my file has been downloaded here. I'm going to run the right click and run as administrator. Okay. So it is asking please enter the password from the portal as it's a press enter. So the password is here. So copy the password and paste it here. Click enter. We detect a session already connected to the recovery point of the VM client 10. We need to unmount the volume before connecting the recovery VM infrastructure. Please enter Y to proceed or enter bot. Icon Y. Click double run. Waiting for the service. Microsoft Iskasi initiator service. Yeah, connection succeed. Oh. So what happened, that particular file has been attached to my local machine. Here we could see that, and here we have the restore folder, not on the virtual machine. It has attached to my laptop. Here we could see as a E drive. We are going to copy this from here, copy, and we will paste it in our virtual desktop. Paste. Alright. After restoring the file, we can unmount the disk. So we will see what happens when we click on unmount. We have to click on unmount disk. So unmount is in progress. Let me check here. The file drive is still here. Let's see when it get disappeared from here. Yeah, now it got disappeared, and unmount is in progress here. Yeah, unmount is successful now. We check it out in the PowerShell. There is no change in the PowerShell script. We check here, yes, we could see that particular drive has got disappeared, and here we could see that mount was successful. Alright, that's it. So I think I am clear to you. I have practically showed how we can recover a particular file or folder from our Azure VM backup. We learn about how to configure the backup report. I have already configured it so that I could show you each module with some data. But don't worry, I can show you each step to configure the backup report. So first of all, let us go to the recovery service vault. This is our particular recovery service vault which we have created. I'm selecting that. Let me minimize this. So here, if you come down under manage, we have backup report. So let me click on that. So if I select the log analytics, which I have already created, in the top we have some menus here like summary, backup instance, usage, jobs, policies, optimize, policy adherence, and email report. So let me click on summary. We get an overall summary about the Azure backup here. So key parameters by the backup solution is backup instance 1. That means only one virtual machine is taking the backup. We are backing up only one particular virtual machine. And the cloud storage, it is 23.98 GB. Job created, it is 16 job created, and it is giving an overall summary about our backup. Backup instance details is provided here. How many are protected, how many protection stopped, initial backup pending, updating protection, all those details are here. Fine. Usage, it will provide you the storage utilization report, like how much storage space has been utilized. As I have selected only the local redundant, it provides me the local redundant storage details. In the production environment, normally we select either zonal or geo redundant storage. So it provides the data related to that here about the usage tab. Then jobs, policies. Policies, while creating the report, we have created a policy and allocated that. So all that you could see in my first video. So it just shows which policy is working and all those details here. And email report, this is the one which I have to show you. It will provide you the backup report via Gmail. So how you can configure, I will show you in this particular video how you can configure the email report via ID. I have already done it here. So we will configure one more and I will show you that. So let's start from the very beginning. We'll get into the get started. So to get the backup report, the first step is to create the log analytic workspace. So let us create one. Create the log analytics workspace. You can go here and just search for log analytics. So it provides the log analytic workspace. I have already created one. You can create an extra one here by clicking on create. Provide your subscription, under which resource group you want this log analytic workspace. You can give it here. You name it, region, next tag it, and review and create. So in this way you can create the log analytic workspace. So this is the first step to configure the backup report. So you can do it. As you can see in my log analytic workspace, I have already created one in the name of for backup report, and you could see the data here. So this is the way how you can create the log analytic workspace. After creating the log analytic workspace, let's go back to the recovery service vault. Let me select my particular recovery service vault. Under monitoring, you have diagnostics settings. You can select this and you can add a diagnosis settings. So I have already added here. What you can do, you can add one more. And if you want only the backup report, you have to select core, add-on, and fill here. Site recovery jobs and all these details are not required. Health, you can take it. Send to where you have to send these details, send to log analytics workspace. So here it provides some details. You need to create a separate diagnosis setting for Azure Backup or an Azure Site Recovery, even to prevent potential data loss. So you cannot select all these tabs here. You need to create a separate diagnosis settings for Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery events to prevent potential data loss. Keep that in mind while creating it, and just give a name here and save it. So you could see I have already created one and saved it that in the name of backup report diagnostic. If you go to the edit setting, you could see what all things I have selected here. The first one is not required. All these are required, and Azure Site Recovery you will have to create separately because due to prevent the potential of data loss. All right. So this is the second step. Now, if you come back and backup report, you can select your particular log analytic workspace here, and it will start showing the data. So it will start showing the data here. All right. Here you can select the subscription. I have selected all, and select the workspace like log analytic workspace. So I have selected the one. And time range, you can select it for 14 days, 28 days, 30 days, 60 days, and you can customize it. And you can backup solution, subscription name. So all those details are provided here. And according to this, you will start getting the data here. So anyway, we are getting all this data here. Now the next step, what we have to do it, email report. So let me click on email report. Here we have to configure. See, our manager or our client will be asking us to provide the backup report either on weekly or monthly basis. So to provide the backup report, we can automate the backup report via email. We can, instead of manually taking this report and sending to the customer, what you can do, you can email them, you can automate it through email report. So let's see how we can do that. For that, you have to create a new task. I have already created one and it is working fine. So we will create a new task here, and I'm giving the name as backup task 2. No, backup report 2. And task subscription, let me select the subscription here. Task resource group, let me select the proper resource group. Location, mine it is West Europe. So where is West Europe? Yeah. All right. So email frequency, how you required? You want it on daily basis or in the monthly basis or weekly basis? So customer most probably they will be asking on monthly basis or weekly basis. So you can set it accordingly. So let this be on weekly basis. Email ID. Let me provide my personal email ID. In production environment, we officially give you can give the customer email ID here, or you can give your own mail ID and you can forward that mail to the customer, whatever. So as it's a test environment, I'm providing my personal mail ID. This is jojopol.t at. All right. Email subject, I keep it as backup report weekly. That's fine. Now it says some authorized connection is required. So I'm going to submit this. Let me submit this. So it says then you will have to deploy a logic app template first. All right. So in order to configure the email report, you'll have to deploy a logic app template. So once if you confirm it, system itself will create the logic app and all the settings will be done by the system itself by default. But why we require this logic app? We need logic app for the Office 365 API integration. For the Office 365 API integration, we required the logic app. So only through the logic app, the email will be triggered to your organization mail ID. So the only thing what you have to do, you have to confirm it. So system itself will deploy the logic app. And after creating the logic, after system deploying the logic app, the last step is to provide the authentication. You'll have to provide the authentication from your side to trigger the email. So I will just show you that. So here you'll have to confirm it. As I have already done all these steps, I'm just canceling this and I'm going directly back to the logic app. Here you could see this is the logic app that has been created by default while I configured that. So I'm clicking on that. If you go back to the overview, by default, if you check the overview, it will be failed as the authentication was not success. It will always show failed. Run history will be failed.
as it has to be API connection authentication is required to that. So what you'll have to do, you have to come under development tool and the API connection, and you have to select West Europe to your Office 365, as this is your as West Europe is my region, it shows as West Europe to Office 365. Select this, and yeah, here they will ask you to authorize it. API connection, it will ask you to authorize. So here, if you click it, it will ask for your credentials, and so when you click it, it asks for your credentials and MFA. So you provide those details and authorize it. So it's after that it will start triggering the mail. So this is the way how you can configure the backup report and generate email report.
Goodbye for the time being. We'll meet you in the other video.